Use me, cheat on me, enjoy losing your friends and family, and have fun being ignored at work. Bonus points for possibly becoming homeless. I just found out 2 days ago that my boyfriend of 4 years is gay. Our relationship was a lie. He used me to cover his sexuality because he wasn't ready to expose himself. He told me that himself. He pretended to love me for 4 years. He acted like the perfect boyfriend for 4 years. We were discussing marriage and kids. He even took me to look at engagement rings. All the while, he was having an affair with a man. To top all of that off, his boy toy called me 2 hours after I walked in on them. Why? To tell me that he was bi and that we could all just be together. Are you kidding me? I didn't know if he was making fun of me or if he was really stupid enough to think that was a good idea. But yeah, if you're gay but act straight, I freaking hate you. What's worse is that my family believes I should have been nicer to him because gay people have it rough enough already. So because he's gay, then I can't be mad, I can't be angry, I need to be nicer to him? After his boy toy called, I texted my now ex if he was seriously making fun of me, and he just said that it wouldn't be a bad idea. So I lost it. His mum and I were very close, so I texted her a lengthy message explaining what happened, and I told her that I can't stay in contact with her, at least not for the time being. She was shocked but understanding of why I needed to go no contact. Well, his parents disowned him, not for being gay, but because of what he did to me. The idiot went on social media to complain that his parents disowned him for being gay, but multiple family members commented and exposed him for the trashy human being that he is. Some of his co-workers had him on Facebook and TikTok, and they saw everything, and now no one at work talks to him because of what he did to me. His friends were disgusted when they found out. His friends always liked me, and they're also really big on monogamy, so they didn't want to be friends after they learned the truth. He needs to move out because we live together and now he can't afford rent on his own, but his budget is very tight, so he doesn't have many options. And they broke up. My ex had a fit when his mum called him. In retaliation, he broke the TV, my laptop, cut some of the clothes I still had at the apartment, and smashed the coffee machine. So yeah, his boyfriend didn't like this outburst and he ended things. And yes, I am suing him for the damages. Okay, now let's get immediately into the update here because as you can tell, that first post was written very quickly after the event and OP has some following, maybe calmer thoughts. I want to start by saying that I wrote this post in a state of anger and I was too emotional to realize how bad it sounded. I do not hate gay people. I have no problems with the community. I'm sorry if I came across as a homophobic idiot. I really am not. I was just so emotional, so I'd like to apologize. I understand the community is going through a lot and I didn't want to come out as insensitive, so I'm sorry. Okay, that's good to hear. Not gonna lie, when she said, if you're gay but act straight, I freaking hate you, I was thinking, okay, maybe a little bit too far. Anyway, let's carry on. Okay, now the actual update. I received some comments and PMs from people that advised me to get a restraining order and make sure he can't find me. I unfortunately didn't consider them enough, and as some predicted, he followed me from my best friend's place to the grocery store and he trashed my car. I'm talking slashed tires, broken windows, and what I think is oil all over my car. Thankfully, the parking lot has cameras and the police identified him in no time. He was arrested. I'm definitely filing for a restraining order and I'm looking to move to a different city. I will have to see him again in the courtroom though. Also, his ex-boy toy agreed to testify that he witnessed my ex breaking my things at the apartment. My ex is also going to be examined by a professional due to his actions. It appears that he may be suffering from some mental illnesses. I've contacted his parents and they are in shock, but they still refuse to have any contact with him. And there we go, a very interesting story to start today's episode. Now look, this man is obviously not the first man in history to secretly be gay, but be in a relationship or be married to a woman. As we saw not too long ago in the UK, a famous TV presenter, Philip Schofield, who's in the thumbnail of this video, came out as gay despite being married for decades and having children. Now, when he came out, he got so much support, people saying that he was so brave and courageous for doing so, which I completely agree with. But on the other hand, how about his wife in that situation? How about OP in this spot? You know, they're the ones that have kind of just been left in the dirt and maybe lied to for years. Now, with that TV presenter, you could argue it's different because he is actually a nice guy and still gets on with his wife and family, etc., etc. But in this story, yeah, this guy is just an absolute disgrace. But there's one thing realizing you're gay at some point during your relationship. It's another thing cheating on your partner with a man and still telling them that you're straight. You know, that is way too far. And then breaking all your stuff and hunting you down and pretty much stalking you and destroying your car. Yeah, get that man in prison. That's ridiculous. Lying and using people, I got you. This one needs background to fully understand why I went out of my way for this revenge. My best friend was married for 10 years, with his ex for a total of 13 years. He was absolutely head over heels in love with her like I'd never seen before, which I never understood due to her alcohol abuse. She would take it out on him, and when he'd be venting about it, he'd always fall back on, it's not her, it's the illness, a very respectable and admirable stance on it. Last year, she asked for a divorce because after years of what I would call abuse, he had simply run out of gas. Her reasoning for asking for one? When she got fired for testing positive for weed, he wasn't empathetic enough. He admits he wasn't because it had come on the back of one of her drunken tirades where she told him he was a POS who was always trying to control her, when all he ever tried to get her away from was booze for the way she treated him when she was drunk. It took him forever to move on from this, with the divorce following shortly after. And earlier this year, after thinking he was moving on, he calls me to come over and he's in a bad way. I arrive and he's absolutely full down level of drunk, going on that she didn't ask for a divorce for those reasons, that she'd really been cheating with several other people. The next morning when he's more coherent, I ask him how he knew. He was cleaning out the spare room and selling and donating stuff he didn't need anymore, and when he went to clear an old tablet, she was still logged in, and all of the evidence was there. He gets that out and says he's going back to bed and asks me to lock up when I leave. Before I left, I looked at the tablet, and after seeing what I saw, I wanted to find a way to get even with the horrible and conniving woman. So I took pictures of it all and left. When I got home, I started looking up information about these people. 2 of them were just normal guys. Whether they knew she was married or not, I don't know. But the third comes up as a registered sex offender, still on probation for being such a disgusting POS, an address listed as 123 Lane, City, States. This chomo knew that she was married. I immediately knew what I was going to do. This chomo didn't live at 123 Lane. The chomo was living with the conniving ex. She made regular posts about their time together. On top of that, she is an avid weed user and has several firearms because she enjoys sport shooting. So I go into the state sex offender site and make a report of the chomo not actually living where he's registered, and that he's actually living in a home in which he has no right to be in, given that he's a convicted felon and on parole. I include screenshots of the social media posts and all to back it up. I was thinking little would happen but an inconvenience to their lives. Boy, was I wrong. She broke her typical post with nothing serious trend on social media yesterday with this gem. My year can't get any worse. The chomo lost his job and I'm now facing eviction because I can't afford my rent. So I go on the state court system site to see if it's related, and yes, it was. He was rearrested. She clearly can't post bail or the chomo would be out. The job she took after being fired definitely can't support her lifestyle. So he's probably going back to prison or at least jail, and she is a breath away from being homeless. I don't know if I'd ever tell my best friend I was the one behind this, but he's definitely ecstatic to see a horrible woman and sewer rat get what they deserve. Yeah, nuts revenge, but very justified, especially given that this person was actually doing something illegal. To be honest, I'm not sure I'd tell him it was you who did it. Just let him be. As you said, that he's happy that the woman is going through a tough time because he thinks that she deserves it, and yes, she definitely does. So there's no real need for you to say it was you. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the misery that is now in her life. I mean, overall, I think we can all agree that we'd love to have a friend like OP in our lives to do things like this. This is unbelievable fair play. Now, before we get into our next story, I have a very special announcement for you. After an insane amount of demand from you guys, I'm delighted to say that I've released some limited edition Not Today Karen merch. Picture this, you're out and about in the streets and a wild Karen appears and starts confronting you. What do? Well, normally you have to talk to a witch like this. However, get one of these t-shirts or hoodies on and all you have to do is simply point to it, laugh, and walk away. How easy is that? The link is down in the description if you like what you see. Go ahead, check the stuff out. I think they'd make a great Christmas present or even just a little gift for yourself. As always, it's official stuff from the very best supplier, so the quality is unmatched and it's one of the best ways to support me and the channel. With that being said, let's carry on. Make false accusations, lose your business. For some background, I used to work at a small to mid-sized law firm. At the time, there were 10 lawyers, including the owner. His setup was basically do as little work as possible and just take a cut from the rest of us as independent contractors. He was very much a, it doesn't matter what they can afford, bill as much as you can type scumbag. One thing the firm handled was real estate law. I already looked after any real estate transactions, save maybe 2 to 3 per year over the 2 years I worked there. At the time he decided to let me go, he made a list of reasons, all of which were fabricated. Client complaints, missed court dates, etc. It came down to me asking for a bigger cut and him not wanting to have to pay it. I felt it wasn't worth going after him in court. However, shortly after my contract was terminated, I was reviewing my insurance and stumbled upon the fact that no less than 60 real estate transactions were filed with my bar under my name. Well, one of the rules where I practice is that in a situation like this, my name has to be on the retainer agreement and I have to have worked on the file in some capacity. So, having a friend or two at the firm who were practically one foot out the door already, I got many of the phone numbers for these clients that weren't mine and asked for a copy of their retainer for my records. Most of them had no problem sending a copy. Obviously, I was on none of them. I quickly contacted the Bar Association. The whole thing ended up being a mess for this guy. Besides an intensely scrutinized audit, it turned out that he'd done this for every lawyer in the firm. He eventually was ordered to pay an absolutely insane fine, thinking high six figures, and had his license suspended for a few years. The firm shut down and he never went on to practice again. Felt good. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there is one industry in which it makes no sense to try and cheat your workers or pretty much anyone out of anything, surely it has to be law, right? The people you've employed know their stuff. If you do something illegal like this, then you're obviously going to get sued by the people involved because they are lawyers. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Surely this would be the last industry you want to do this in. I mean, maybe people like this boss are just that dumb that they think, oh, I don't think that the people I employ for being good at law are going to be good at law when I do something bad on them. Like, it just makes no sense to me, clearly. How dumb have you got to be? I created a point of interest on Google Maps to annoy wealthy Karen neighbors. I live in a non-gated neighborhood that previously had one road both in and out. My neighborhood also has 2 schools on this one road. The traffic is ridiculous during rush hour or when schools get in or out. There's always been a public works plan to build a secondary exit from my neighborhood. It just so happens to connect to the main road by going through a portion of a also non-gated, wealthier neighborhood behind us. Fast forward, the public roadway gets built as planned, and as expected, people in my neighborhood start using it to avoid the traffic on the other busier road. It legit shaves 15 to 20 minutes off any commute or drive. The people in this neighborhood have began posting to theirs and our Facebook page with the most ridiculous things and have gone to protest to their city council. Some examples to give you guys an idea are: they are ruining our lives by driving through daily. This road has derailed mine and my wife's life plans. They're currently attempting to petition the city to rule the road emergency use only and are also filing a lawsuit against the city, supposedly. They have several folks who will legit take photos of cars driving through and will count how many cars per day drive through. They've also tried to send my neighborhood HOA bills for the road, which, mind you, is a 100% public road that they did not even pay for. The latest thing is that they're saying this road is a gift from them. Overall, they're just pretentious folks, to be honest. I don't know why they think they're somehow entitled to anything. Now, I'm not a jerk. I totally get how this could be annoying for them, but they have generalized my entire neighborhood as public enemy number 1. And to be honest, I just think it's hilarious. So, we made a point of interest on Google Maps called Shortcut to Davis Ranch and have been reviewing it 5 stars with the most hilarious comments. The goal being that anytime they look at their maps, they see this mention of the road they despise so much. Now guys, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, sure you have, mate. Sure, this is just for a Reddit post. No. Have a look at this if you are watching on YouTube. What you can see here is the ranch, okay? This is it, right? OP gave us a link and this is it. Now, here is where it gets interesting. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and just come over here slightly to the shortcut. This is it. This is the shortcut they made, I think, so that there's 2 roads now instead of 1. And this is what all the discussion and, you know, controversy is about. Now, if you click on the shortcut to Davis Ranch, you can see over here, 4.9 star rating, 21 reviews, including this one from Adam Norton just a few days ago. 5 stars. I've heard nothing but great things about this shortcut. One of the absolute best, I'm told. If I lived nearby, I would take it constantly. Planning to visit soon just to try it out. Oh, and then another one. Nice shortcut. Too bad it goes through such ugly houses, though. It is what it is. That's 3 stars. I mean, this one's great from Kristen. Great shortcut with a generous freelance photographer. So good. So petty. Fantastic route with friendly onlookers 24/7. Highly recommend this as a drag racing spot. The best gift I've received all year. Nothing on my Christmas list will top it. The best gift in my life. Guys, there's actually 3 things in this world. I still have faith in humanity. I mean, just so good. So good. I love it all. Insane shortcut. I love barreling down the road at 75 miles an hour. Brilliant. You know, reading all these reviews has made me think I might just post one myself. So here we go. 5 stars. What should we say? Simply the best road / shortcut in the history of roads / shortcuts. I am traveling to the US this Christmas solely to use this shortcut every day and experience its majesty. I think that will do. Post. Okay, there we go. And there it is. Looks wonderful. I trained a senior colleague to do what I want without him ever knowing. I used to work in a role where I administrated the security access card system for a huge office. An obnoxious colleague used to take a shortcut from the lobby through a meeting room and out the other side to his desk, but in doing so, he would leave the meeting room's entrance door open, which would sound an alarm once he left the area. I sat in the lobby near the door he left open, and I was the one who had to get up and close it for him. He didn't respond to polite requests to stop, so I disabled his access pass, but only on the second door, which is closest to his desk. He'd walk through the meeting room, get 6 feet from his desk, and be declined by the door. This caused him to have to walk back to me to ask if something was wrong with his access. I'd ask him to close the shortcut door he'd opened, alarm now sounding, and he always did. Then I'd act confused and say, "Why don't you try it on that other door over there?" and direct him to the proper entrance to the office area, which had a mysterious 100% success rate for letting him through. I simulated an intermittent technical error by deactivating his card and then reactivating it for well over 12 months, and I acted dumb anytime he questioned it. I've asked ICT about it, but nobody knows, mate. Who knows how these systems work? Sometimes he'd forget his personal pass and I'd issue him a visitor pass and disable that on his shortcut too, which added an extra layer of obfuscation. Sometimes I'd allow him to use his shortcut and I'd happily close the door behind him, knowing that it was all part of his education. Eventually, he learned that it was always quicker to walk straight to the proper entrance, and he stopped taking the shortcut and stopped leaving the alarm door near me open, and he never found out that I trained him. Yeah, I guess that just proves that humans are animals, capable of being trained by others. Unreal. I mean, the fact that he didn't just do it in the first place is kind of silly, even when asked. But yeah, if he didn't do it, then you had to train him. Wonderful stuff. I'm just kind of surprised by this guy. Like, how did he not know the whole time that something fishy was going on? Especially when you had asked him in the first place to stop doing that, right? Maybe given that he was dumb enough in the first place to not stop doing what you've asked him to stop doing, he was also dumb enough to literally be trained by you. I tipped my ex-friend and bully as petty revenge. To start, this girl and I were best friends the first half of high school. However, something changed in her. She became depressed and suicidal because she was being severely bullied online. I reported what she told me to both the school counselors and her parents, and I told her that I told them. She decided I betrayed her and suddenly became a bully towards me. Ironically, she became friends with the girls who bullied us both right after. She later found out they were the online bullies too. My first job was front end at a restaurant, and she knew when and where I worked, so she made it a point to show up at my work where I really couldn't do much. I had to serve her and her new friends. She saw me coming and said to not expect a tip because service industry workers are servants who don't need to be paid. That stuck with me for years. I told my manager that I refused to serve her or them ever again. My manager was fine with it at that point, as I'd made comments before. From that day on, I never spoke to my ex-friend for years. Now recently, I went to my hometown in a local restaurant. Lo and behold, my waiter is my ex-friend. Again, I haven't spoken to her at all since that day that she basically said I was her servant. I decided to get petty revenge by killing her with kindness. I was polite, but never acknowledged that I knew her. She kept saying she swears she recognizes me from somewhere. I kept brushing the question off. Then came the bill. When the receipt for the tip came, I put a note on it that said, "First and former last name, do you still think service industry workers are servants who don't need to be paid?" With a 100% tip on a $40-ish meal. As I walked out, I saw her face as she read the notes. She turned very, very red. I think my kind petty revenge got to her. Oh wow, that is actually so much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought that you were going to do the same thing that she did to you and give you 0 tip. But what you actually did was, first of all, way more petty in a way, because it proves that you can give money. And it's also, like, in many ways stronger than if you hadn't. It shows her that you were just in a much better place. If you had done the same thing as she did to you, it would have come across as like super jealous, full of hatred, I guess. But what you did actually just shows that you're just on another level right now. Like, you're living your life, doing whatever you're doing, but being able to afford a $40 tip on a meal, and she's waiting. Nothing wrong with waiting, but you know, there are levels to this game. And that is an unbelievable kick in the face. It's like, it doesn't get any classier than that. It's just so good. It also probably makes her feel way worse about it than it would have done if you'd given her nothing. Genius. Absolutely love that revenge.